Welcome to the Prop Drop. Tune in every week for the best prop bet picks and analysis across all major sports. Brought to you by WSN.com.
Hey, and welcome to WSN's Prop Drop, where we talk the top props across the sports world: NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA. Absolutely nothing is off limits. I'm Alece Anderson, joined as always by Ryan Sullivan and Adam Forsythe, and we're going to try and give you the best locks, most unique props, best parlays or teasers. Make sure to check out WSN.com and subscribe to the WSN YouTube channel. Kicking into Best Bets recap. I don't need a mulligan this week, boys.
Yeah, you do. Undefeated.
That's right. I did take Simona Halep as my big win for the week, and she did it. And I couldn't be happier about it. Honestly, I was so scared after having to take a mulligan last week that made me feel really happy. I also sort of put it under the umbrella of tennis, so I did have a chance of also having Shapovalov win, which he did not. But good showing from Shapovalov as well as the other two Canadians. Felix Auger-Aliassime and Vasek Pospisil made it to the quarterfinals of the ATP Marseille Open. But alas, Shapo's run stopped there. But again, back to Simona Halep. She wins the Dubai Duty Free, and ta-da.
Wait a minute. You had two best bets last week?
I knew this was going to be a thing. I knew it.
Would you slide that under the radar?
I said it at the end. You guys did sort of say you couldn't do two.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So I think I lean to Halep. I'm going to go with that anyways.
We
Halep.
need like a best bet set of rules. Because you're both finding loopholes here. There's 8 days in a week. We're taking mulligans. I don't know what's going on. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Well then, let's find out what your best bet
Well, I'm just a little bitter because I lost my best bet. So
there we go.
Yeah, right. My best bet last week. I decided to... We were talking about it. We both agreed on the Florida Panthers, adding more than 2.5 bodies at the trade deadline. But then I went against that, and I decided to go with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who decided to sit on their hands and do pretty much next to nothing.
Which you called.
Yeah, which you called. But the Florida Panthers would have won me some dough. Unfortunately, we chalk up a loss for the first time in a long time. 7-2-1 in my last 10. Still strong numbers. But, yeah, I'm not sitting in the undefeated chair this week. That's a little tough.
Yes.
So, yeah, killing it.
Before we get to this week's props, I guess I should recap my best bet from last week. And unfortunately, I'm slumping. I had Sergio Garcia to finish in the top 20 at the WGC Mexico Championship. He triple bogeyed his 7th hole of the tournament. It was pretty much finished from there. He tried to mount a comeback, a 500 performance in the final round. Finished on a tie for 37th, but the Spaniard cost me my best bet. Luckily, I was bailed out and made a bunch of cash on the tournament with several other golfers helping me out. It's becoming a kind of a common trend on this show, and I'm going to put a stop to it this week. I need to put a stop to it. I butcher my best bet, and then I make it like a king on everything else. It's profitable, but it's super annoying because ultimately the best bet is king. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into all our best props, but my biggest win this week was on the links, as I mentioned. Tyrell Hatton to finish top 10 at this tournament. I even said in last week's broadcast I would regret not making this my best bet. It's his first tournament since November because of wrist surgery. His number was terribly inflated. I was all over the 7-1 odds to finish in the top 10. Well, he finished 6th at 13 under. That win covered my week of gambling. I also had a couple of other hits. I correctly advised you to take Man City over Leicester City. LeBron James to top 25.5 points with the Lakers beating the Celtics. That happened. And then you just mentioned the NHL trade deadline. I thought the Carolina Hurricanes would be very busy. They would be the Eastern Conference team that made the most moves at the deadline. They did just that. Also, one final tooting of my horn. I had Stefanos Tsitsipas and Felix Auger-Aliassime in the final of the Open 13 tennis tournament. Got that one as well. But how about you guys?
You also took Colorado to add more than 2.5 bodies as well. How'd that work out for you?
They did.
Did they? Damn it, I didn't tell you. I was so focused on my own, I didn't even tally them up.
I felt I was going on a little too long, so I had to limit my amount of wins.
I see. That's very kind of you to do so. Yeah. Well, like you, I took Tsitsipas and Auger-Aliassime to make the final. He's my long shot, so I did well at the ATP Tour. Man City with a big win, of course. Also, I probably can't. I wrote down the Florida Panthers here. We've been over that. That's not a win. I alluded to it, but I didn't take them. But nonetheless, in the WTA as well, I took Simona Halep, your best bet for the week, and that grabbed me a win as well. So best bet aside, not a terrible week, not too bad, some wins on the board, but yeah, that was a tough one at the deadline, that's for sure. So
I mean, you threw a miss, I'll throw out mine too, because you got to kind of we got to hold ourselves accountable here at WSN. Outside of my whiff on the best bet, I flubbed my XFL pick. I was feeling really good about it, but Dallas defeating Seattle on the road, definitely thought the result would go the other way. But I'm looking to bounce back in this week's XFL prop.
Fair enough. Yeah. I also, well, you know what? While we're at it, because he went out on a ledge there, I took Xander Schauffele to win at the PGA, and he finished 14th in Mexico. So a little unfortunate there. And I also picked the Winnipeg Jets on the other side of the conference there, and they only added one body. So unfortunate, but we're moving forward. We got a clean slate, and we're heading into this week.
I like it.
Yeah, all full steam ahead here.
For our next broadcast, we want to hear from you. Did you agree with our picks? Where did we go wrong? I go wrong quite a bit. And most importantly, give us your wildest prop predictions from any sport, and we promise to discuss the top comments in next week's show. Be sure to like and subscribe for the most up-to-date prop predictions in all the land. Jude Kennedy, by the way, not a woman.
Yes.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
We've been referring
not only educational for the viewer, but for us as well.
That's right.
Jude Kennedy commenting all the time. And also commenting that we've been referring to you as a she. We're very sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. But keep commenting. You're awesome, and we love you. So keep coming back.
And before we get to our prop selections for this week, for our listeners, spit that out, living in New Jersey or West Virginia, head over to WSN.com for special bonuses and deals. If you want to bet on this week's games, you can compare the best legal online sports books and get exclusive offers when you sign up and start betting. Headline prop of the week, boys. NFL. Best 40 dash time over-unders at the NFL Combine. CeeDee Lamb, 4.45 or 4.54 seconds. Chase Young, 4.65 seconds. DeAndre Swift, 4.47 seconds. Henry Ruggs III, 4.38. What are we looking at?
Yeah, you go down the line. The NFL Combine is this week in Indianapolis, and I will definitely be throwing some coin on this prop. In fact, it's my best bet of the week, ladies and gentlemen.
Out the gate.
Pew, pew, pew. Shoot off those fireworks or guns or whatever that was. I've been watching the game tape. I'm all in on Henry Ruggs III. The guy has jets. It is insane. And while the odds have placed him at 4.38 seconds with the over at minus 400, the under is at plus 200 right now. I think that is crazy talk. There's been a lot of chatter about the possibility of him getting to the 4.2s, which is nearly unheard of. The NFL Network's Lance Zierlein has been following this guy very closely all year, specializes in the Combine and the 40-yard dash in particular, and he predicts we'll see Riggs at 4.27. That is a massive gap from what the odds makers have. I will be hammering the under 4.38 seconds, my best bet of the week.
Wow, very nice. And you know what? I like your pick there, and I'm going to go with a fellow Alabama man. I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. I'm taking the under on that. He's slated to go 4.44 seconds. Over under, each paying minus 120. I'm taking the under there. He reminds me a lot of DK Metcalf in the Seattle Seahawks. Tall, lanky guy with crazy speed. Great hands as well, but you don't need that for this drill. So anyways, I like Jerry Jeudy to take the under. And obviously, I mean, the guy's an incredible athlete, incredible specimen. He's going to be the top wide receiver in the draft. Most mock drafts are pointing to. And then I also like Jalen Hurts to go under 4.58. I mean, he's a quarterback, but don't let that fool you. The dude has absolute wheels, and he really needs a great showing as well, especially after that Peach Bowl where he just got shellacked by Joe Burrow and LSU. He needs some positive headlines after that, and I think he's going to come out total guns blazing here, and I'd love to see it. Right now, he's slated to go towards the end of the first round. And this guy could be the steal of the draft. I mean, we'll get into this in future shows as we get closer to draft day. But no, I think Jalen Hurts, Jerry Jeudy, these guys are going to make some huge noise come 40-yard dash time.
I gotta throw in here, it's not a prop, but there should have been a prop on the measurement of Joe Burrow's hands, creating controversy around the world. Are you guys familiar with this?
They're small hands, apparently.
Yes,
very
tiny,
small.
right?
Tiny at 9 inches, and that is an alarming freak out. Never has a quarterback been drafted in the first round since 2008. With hands that small. And
tiny
I do like that he played it up on Twitter. He said, pray for me and my tiny little hands. I might have to retire. And as of this tape, it had 330,000 likes. So,
according to Austin Powers, he could be a carny.
Small
hands. Smell like cabbage.
It's not a Disney movie.
Going old school. Yeah, right? See, I branch out. Come on now.
All right, this is an interesting one. Odds were released this week for Kobe Bryant becoming the NBA logo's next silhouette. Yes, plus 300. No, minus 600.
This is an interesting one. It's kind of a neat prop, and it's cool that it popped up. I mean, the past few weeks, of course, we've all been very caught up in the Kobe Bryant story. I mean, it's very captivating, of course. I don't see this happening. That is a major change, and at the end of the day, you're going to have the naysayers come out of the dark and bring up what did or didn't happen in a Colorado courtroom, all those different people are going to bring that up. It's going to happen. So anyhow, with that bad PR lingering in the distance, I think the NBA is just going to steer clear, stick with tradition, stick with who they got, and you're going to be looking at the same logo come summertime and next season.
Interesting points, and I tend to agree with you. The petition to have Kobe Bryant as the signature, I think it topped 2 million this week, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. Again, it is a nice gesture. No chance they change the logo. I appreciate what he meant to the game on and off the court, but the current logo is iconic. It's its own brand. The amount of marketing and money that would have to go into changing the logo for a $1 billion brand, it's just not worth the investment. The only wrinkle is that the current logo is modeled after Hall of Famer Jerry West, who is on record as saying he supports the logo being changed. So that does carry a little bit of weight. However, in the end, when a major sport makes a significant change to a logo, it hasn't really happened, except they maybe changed the color or the font a little bit. They haven't changed the logo itself. There's other ways to honor the legacy of Bryant, but this isn't it. I am going no on this prop.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job so far, whether it's at NBA All-Star Weekend, everything of honoring Kobe in different ways, and I couldn't agree more with both of you. It ain't happening. Yeah,
and keep that tradition. The players love that. It made for a great game, too.
Absolutely.
Why not? You can honor him once every year at the All-Star. I think that's a great idea.
Agreed.
The logo itself, I'm not so sure. And not only those naysayers, Kobe Bryant wasn't the best basketball player of all time.
Whoa!
I'm sorry.
He wasn't.
I'm sorry. And for those that think LeBron James is, you're wrong as well. Michael Jordan's the best of all time. And I don't think he's going on the logo anytime soon either. So keep it as it is. A great tradition's lived for many years. Why mess with a good thing?
Exactly.
You're all wrong. The greatest basketball player of all time, Stromile Swift.
Buddy, Stro Show. I was a big fan out of LSU.
See? Mm-hmm. Not every other player has some sort of weird hand gesture that you just did.
That was Stromile, man. I was a fan. I'm telling you. I don't know if that was a dove or what he was doing, but it was
flying,
catchy.
Man. He's flying.
It was very catchy.
Head to WSN.com for extensive odds and free picks for all major sports. Moving along to the PGA Honda Classic odds have been released. At the top, Tommy Fleetwood, Brooks Koepka, and Ricky Fowler with 12-1 odds. Justin Rose and Gary Woodland 22-1, and Louis Oosthuizen.
Sure, you put a little weird German flair on there. South African, but I like it.
25-1. Adam, where are you at?
7 of the past winners had a finish of 13th or better in the previous year at this event before their win. So keep that in mind when you're kind of scouting out a winner. Definitely look at last year's field. This week marks the return to the East Coast and a return to Bermuda greens. And that sounds really weird and random. It's actually amazing how much it affects certain players when it comes to putting. Of the favorites, I'm leaning towards Brooks Koepka at 12-1. Likely the highest odds you will see for him all season, for the rest of the season at least. After a slow start to the year, he's finally rounding into form. If you're not really comfortable at that high of odds, in the middle tier, my target is Ben An, who loves playing on Bermuda greens. His biggest weakness is that streaky putter. So if he can get comfortable, he is one of the most elite ball strikers on tour. I think he can contend, and his odds are actually really good. Great value at 40-1. I'll be definitely jumping on the board for that. My long shot of the week, because I love to find some long shots, much like Tyrell Hatton last week, is Russell Henley, another fantastic ball striker. His odds right now are 100-1. It seems insane to me. He's won at this event before, winning here in 2014. He's made the cut in 6 of his last 7 appearances at the Honda Classic, and perhaps most importantly, he's coming off a big week last week. I'll be sprinkling some money on him to win, and I'll also be taking him on a top 10 finish.
Very interesting. Well said, well said. Very articulate. I like it. It's time for my boy Ricky Fowler to do it up again. I absolutely love this guy. I've been a fan since the hair was down to the shoulder. I missed the hair down to the shoulder, mind you. But 3 top 10s in a row at the Hero World Tourney of Champs and Career Builder to start the year. Couldn't repeat as champion this year at the Phoenix Open, unfortunately. But he's had almost a month off now. This guy's coming in well rested. He's ready to rock. And in the words of Michael Scott, it's a win-win-win. Because, yeah, you put some money down. You get to support this guy all weekend long. You get to watch this guy all weekend long. He's very entertaining. He's a great ball striker, very accurate golfer. He's awesome. And you get to see the style of Ricky Fowler. You get to see what's coming down the pipe in the Puma line, and I love it. Absolutely. As for my long shot, and I also use Cobras, so I'm also biased. But as for my long shot, I'm going Billy Horschel at 30-1. A bit of a rough start to the year. Cut at the Career Builder. Finished 4 shots off the lead at the Farmers in January. They went back-to-back 9th place finishes at the Phoenix and the WGC Mexico. This guy's peaking at the right time, and I got faith in Billy.
All right. Well, Ryan, you mentioned hair, and it just leads right into my pick. I like me some Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
It's time for him to end the drought. He's got to be the best player without a PGA Tour win, maybe the best without a major. He's won 5 times on the European Tour, most recently in November, and has 4 runner-up finishes at the PGA Tour, including the 2018 U.S. Open and 2019 Open. Yet to get into the winner's circle in the U.S. despite making 63 starts, but he closed out 2019 with a fury. Hasn't lost a step since, following a runner-up in Abu Dhabi and top 20s in Dubai and Mexico. I'm going with start number 64, Tommy Fleetwood, for the win.
And I like how your headline was, he needs to end the drought.
Yeah, I know.
That's the biggest reason you go with Tommy. It's just a feel-good story.
He really wants to win.
Yeah, shut up. He does, all right? NHL Stanley Cup updated odds post-trade deadline. This one always makes me nervous. Picking a winner already.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I like just kind of looking at it like picking finalists. Because picking a winner right out of the gates here, that's tough stuff. And we can worry about that come playoff time. But yeah, I like the finalists.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
Well, like the Penguins' odds have definitely increased following some acquisitions. Jason Zucker, pair of trades on Monday, picking up a familiar face, Connor Sheary, along with center Evan Rodriguez, and then adding that lifelong Penguins fan and veteran Patrick Marleau. I think he was a Leafs fan at some point too, right? But now he's a Penguins fan.
Of course, yeah.
I do like his wife posted that photo on Twitter of him where he was like 10 years old wearing a Penguins t-shirt. Awesome.
Yeah, right? But I'm having a tough time really going forth with the Penguins only because they got to somehow find a way to beat the Lightning. And they have not beat the Lightning this year. All 3 meetings, Lightning have beat the Penguins. I think with the way that they got swept last year, first round of the playoffs, I can't help but think that Tampa Bay is finally just going to do it this year. They're going to go into it and go hard. I like Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay in the East. I like Vegas in the West. Ugh. I don't even like to say that, but I do. They've made a bunch of moves. But I am going with Lightning. That's my pick.
Yeah, let's clip this for when the Lightning gets swept in the first round again, and we can replay this.
I'll ask for another mulligan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was a frantic trade deadline, one of the most trades we've seen in NHL history on a deadline, and I have landed on your pick, the Vegas Golden Knights, as my Stanley Cup pick. I had a feeling they would make some deadline moves, and actually jumped on them before Monday for fear their Stanley Cup odds would fall, and I was correct. I was able to snag them at plus 1,600 on Friday night. Then they were down to plus 1,200 leading up to the deadline. And after the deadline, there was low as plus 800 in some books. So I got double the value just being kind of aware of the trends and the odds makers being a little squirrely about Vegas. With the acquisition of Robin Lehner, they now have 2 legit number 1 goalies. Their blue line already looking much improved with the acquisition of Alec Martinez. I think they're league's most complete team. They also perhaps have the easiest path to the final. It's a very weak Pacific division. I feel like this will be a popular pick out east. Can't help it. I like the Tampa Bay Lightning. They learned from last year's mistakes, that shocking first-round sweep at the hands of the Blue Jackets. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised with their deadline additions. Very quiet, not super flashy, simply adding the depth they need to get the win. They got Zach Bogosian, Barclay Goodrow, and Blake Coleman. All will be stellar penalty kill options, taking the burden off some of their stars, too. The Lightning are currently the betting favorite, which isn't surprising, but I still like them to emerge from the East. However, I'm still sticking with my pick, Vegas as my cup pick. Tempting odds, make that it just adds a little bit more intrigue. The Lightning don't pay out as well, so.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And you know what? I like the Lightning pick because when I go shopping, what do I love?
BOGO.
A BOGO. I love a good BOGO. Zach Bogosian, you can't go wrong. I mean, this guy's it's a depth piece, like you alluded to. It's a depth. This guy's not going to lead headlines anytime soon. But they got him for nothing, really, just out of the free agent bin, pretty much. So that was nicely done. And they made some other moves, of course, some other acquisitions there which I like. But I find it hard to trust the Lightning because, last year the argument is there that they peaked way too early and they just put it all together way too early. You got to come together at the right time. And so I'm a little weary on the Lightning, which is why I'm going to go with my Caps. I love the Washington Capitals. Always been a closet fan. Ovi's having just a storybook year, of course, which really just takes over that whole franchise. I love the acquisition of Ilya Kovalchuk. I love having a couple Ruskies, leading the way there, and he's having a resurgent year as well. He's doing great. Ilya Samsonov between the pipes as the backup, I think, is quality, because I'm gonna get to the Golden Knights as well, who have arguably the best 1-2 punch now between the pipes. With
they're
Lehner.
golden in net.
There it is.
Some
you don't
would
need
say.
to yell. All right, just calm down.
He's so excited for his puns.
Yeah, he's very excited. But anyhow, no,
even a pun. It was just bad.
I love the guy as a backup. He's the future between the pipes for these guys. And Braden Holtby's having a solid year as well. Paying 7-1. I like the Caps right now with the pieces they added. I mean, obviously Kovalchuk, as mentioned, but Brendan Dillon back on the blue line. This guy was slated to be, the best defenseman in a lot of different analyst websites or what have you, leading into that trade deadline, and they snatched him up quick. It was great to see. So the two finalists I'm going, Golden Knights. We're all having a chord here. This is interesting. But on the one side in the West, and then in the East, I'm going to go with the Caps. A nice rematch of the Stanley Cup final a couple years ago.
I like it. Hey, I'd be okay with the Caps winning the Cup again just to watch Ovi celebrate again.
Yeah, just to see them swim in a fountain.
Exactly,
absolutely.
Exactly. Moving on to some tennis. ATP Mexican Open odds to win. Rafa Nadal is back plus 125. Stan Wawrinka plus 900. Grigor Dimitrov plus 1400. Kyle Edmund plus 1600. John Isner plus 2,000. Oh gosh, this one just felt quick. I'm looking at the names, and with Rafa back in the mix, and Felix Auger-Aliassime already out, you got to go with world number 2. No Novak, Rafa all the way.
Yep, you're not wrong at all, and I'm locking it in as my best bet.
Okay.
I'm going with the Spaniard. He'll pay you a quarter on a dollar. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but he really only has to get through Stan Wawrinka right now. The small Swiss, and if he can do that, which he can, and he has time and time again throughout his career, he's got an absolute easy road. With Felix Auger-Aliassime gone, with Alex Zverev gone at the start of the week, I love Zverev. The guy's got youth on his side. He's got the reach on his side. Big 6'6". He's the tallest guy in the tourney. But anyhow, no, with them out of the way, this is Rafa country. I think he's walking out of Mexico with some gold in his hand.
All right, well, of those left in the field, I've narrowed it down to 2. I really like Rafa Nadal. And I also like the actual tallest person in the field, 6'8", John Isner.
All right, Google was wrong to me. I looked them both up, and it was in meters, and I'm not good with meters. All right,
you gotta put in. Yeah, feet.
I don't go that way. Who measures in meters? What is that? Who does that?
You can't help but cheer for the tall guy, John Isner. His side of the draw really opening up after Nick Kyrgios retired in the first set. Alex Zverev also lost in straight sets. So Isner's draw is wide open at plus 2,000. He's really worth a look. Ultimately, as we gear up to the biggest tournaments or bigger tournaments in the tennis season, the dominance of the big 3, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, the men's side, those 3 don't really appear to be fading. So anytime any of them play, you got to hop on board. The odds aren't the greatest, but I think you have no choice but to go with Nadal as the winner. He's had previous success in this tournament too. He won here in 2013. He's looking to add another title to his impressive resume, and I can't really see how he doesn't win his side of the draw. In a final showdown against the likes of Isner, Nadal should have no issues. Poke around on WSN's website, though. You should be able to find some props on Isner to make the final. The odds won't be as good as a win, but you can still make some serious coin. Nadal to win, Isner to make the final.
Zverev said 2.06 and Isner was 2.08, and I must confuse the two, all right? But who measures in meters? Who does this? Come on.
Also, 6 is smaller than 8.
Pew, pew, pew. Last week, there were 8 days in the week, and that's how you won your best bet. I kept my mouth shut. This is ridiculous. You're ganging up, you're flipping and flopping.
I guess you got a flip or a flop coming your way.
I guess so.
2020 MLS season begins this week. Odds to win the championship are as follows. LAFC plus 350, Atlanta plus 550, Seattle plus 700, New York FC plus 800, Toronto plus 900. Adam.
It's not going to be the sexy pick here, but it is the smartest pick, Alece. LAFC entering the season as heavy favorites. And after deep diving on all the other teams in this, I can't really see any fault in the predictions. They are by far the deepest team. They will benefit from a weaker Western Conference where there are a handful of rebuilding teams that will be out of contention by early summer, so some easy victories there. At plus 350, the return's not the greatest for a months-long prop, but ultimately, you might still be getting a deal at the current price because it probably won't stay that high for very long. And while LAFC is the logical choice here, it can't really hurt to choose a long shot just in case. And the one team I really think is not getting enough love here is the Philadelphia Union at plus 2,500, a much improved team this year. I believe they have a strong chance to surprise this season, make a serious charge at the title. And I don't really think I'm alone in this thinking either. The Union currently have the 13th best odds to win the championship amongst odds makers, but the analytics gurus over at 538 have them at the third best chance at winning. That is a huge discrepancy, and at plus 2,500, I'm willing to take the chance. So again, LAFC is my favorite, but if you're looking for a little bit more meat on the bone, Philadelphia Union.
Interesting. And I like the selections. I'm going to go with Atlanta United FC. They are going to be my main pick. And again, I mean, they're not giving off the sexiest of odds, paying plus 550, 5-1. But nonetheless, I think they get the job done. These guys have had a great team since expansion a few years ago. They're Mercedes-Benz, always rocking down there. Who'd have thought that Georgia was a soccer market? I don't know. I've only been through there a couple times, but I mean, clearly they're not a hockey market. The Thrashers were in and out, but soccer, they love it down there. It's a soccer mad town. They added some depth pieces because they really aren't that far off. So I'd like to see what they get done this season. I think they're going to have a great year. My long shot here is the New York Red Bulls. I've always been a big Tim Parker fan on the back end, but they came in a little under the radar. They're sporting 16-1 odds right now. Last season, not the greatest, 14-6, but they booted out Luis Robles between the pipes, who was there for a long time. But, I mean, through that record, you got to make a change, and they did so. It's between David Jensen and Ryan Meara now handling the crease. And also, they brought in Mandela Egbo. This guy wasn't getting the minutes he wanted in the Bundesliga. He's a former U18 international in England. He comes in to help shore up the back end. They have power. They got goals up front, Daniel Royer and others. And I like him as a long shot. I like Atlanta. Of course, that's the number one. But the Red Bulls, and not to mention those jerseys this year, fantastic. That's how excited I am. Once a show. There should be an over-under on this.
Cricket's on the Sounders. The reigning champs.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
2016 MLS Cup champ, 2017 Western Conference champ, 2019 MLS Cup champ.
They got to run out of gas at some point. There's
not yet. It's not happening yet. Plus
There's
700.
no dynasties in the MLS. I'm not buying it. No way.
The alarm is sounding on their dynasty, and it's over.
Oh my God. All right. Sticking with soccer, who's your lock bet this week in the MLS opening weekend?
All right, I'm going to take the layup here. I'm going to stick with my long shotters. That's the New York Red Bulls. They're heading on the road to FC Cincinnati. And don't get me wrong, Cincy packs a crowd. I was just talking about how awesome the crowd is in Atlanta. In Cincy, they've got the big march. It hits YouTube all the time. It goes crazy viral. They have some soccer mad fans down there, which does give them a nice home pitch advantage for sure. But this game has win written all over it. And it's not just me that thinks that. The Red Bulls right now are paying minus 400, which isn't the greatest. And the FC Cincinnati. I always think Cincinnati FC. Either way. But they're coming in as 7-1 underdogs in this game. This is the most lopsided matchup on the odds board for good reason. And yeah, I expect Royer to come out of the gates flying. Potentially MLS Player of the Week honors. Don't bet on that, but you never know. I could see it. And also Kaku as well through the middle and midfield getting the job done. I see him netting one here as well. New York Red Bulls for the win this weekend.
All right, well, the easy one, unfortunately, won't get you a lot of cash, but again, by the letter of the law, this is the biggest MLS lock of the week. LAFC will decimate Inter Miami CF to open their season. David Beckham's expansion team taking the field this weekend against arguably the best team in the league. On the road, it will not be pretty. The money line isn't actually paying out much, not really a surprise there, but if you can tease down the score, surf through some WSN articles and props there, you can find them. I would be confident in saying that LAFC wins by 2 or more goals. That will land you a nice payday. Another game I'm intrigued by is taking place on the west coast of Canada in Vancouver, where the rebuilding Whitecaps are hosting Sporting Kansas City. KC, not the greatest team, but I think their moneyline odds of plus 115 are way too low. Home field advantage not really favoring the Caps over the last couple of seasons, and with a thrown together roster with nearly over half a dozen new faces, I expect Vancouver will have some early season struggles as the team looks for chemistry. KC has a chance to capitalize and steal an early win at near underdog value.
I like it. I support it.
Back over to NBA. Who's going to win the NBA Rookie of the Year? Race is kind of down to 2.
Yeah.
Maybe even 1.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And, I mean, if Zion was healthy throughout the season, he is absolutely in this conversation, if not potentially winning this conversation. But right now, Ja Morant is the rook of all rooks. This guy's been fantastic. And when it comes down to this debate, who's it going to be, one of the guy or the other, the one guy, Zion, if he's on pace to play half a season of basketball right now. He's only played a handful of games, and that doesn't keep you in the voting. And it's not just me. The committee, of course, will feel the exact same way. Ja's averaging 2 more points per game than the next best guy, which is Kendrick Nunn of Miami. He's also averaging more than 3 assists per game than the next closest freshman. He has over 120 more assists than the next best guy. And not to mention, he's playing on a pretty poor Memphis Grizzlies team. So they've got some great teal throwback unis, but a pretty poor team nonetheless. So yeah, you got to go Ja Morant for the win here.
Yeah, his season has been impressive, but I can't really get past Zion Williamson's lack of games. Like, even if he plays every game the rest of the way, he'll only suit up for 37 contests. Voters can't really justify handing out hardware to a player that's appeared in less than half the games, no matter how good they are. Only 2 players have ever won Rookie of the Year while playing fewer than 60 games. That was Brandon Roy in 2006 and Patrick Ewing in 1985. So history is not on the big man's side here. Ja Morant, the clear winner. He leads the Grizzlies in points, assists, steals, and somehow has them in a playoff spot currently. He deserves the award. He'll win the award, and the odds makers agree at minus 350. They're just not throwing enough value to justify betting on this prop unless you're all the way in and you're looking to throw down some serious cash. So tread lightly when it comes to this one, but Morant should easily take this one.
Yeah, I got absolutely nothing to add to that. All that.
Yeah.
Head to WSN.com for tons of betting guides for beginners and anyone wanting to learn more about strategy and how sports betting works. Moving over to XFL, Seattle Dragons versus St. Louis Battlehawks, over under 38.5 points.
Speaking of strategy, no analysts have any strategy in the XFL right now whatsoever. Everybody is flip-flopping. You think a team's decent? No, they're brutal the next week out. Brutal. But, this actually should be a decent game. I'm taking the under here in the 38.5, and I'll tell you why. I do like both teams' run games. I mean, these two teams probably arguably have the best run games of any two in the league. However, which I mentioned last week, I like Kenneth Farrow and whatnot over in Seattle. St. Louis, Christine Michael. I thought this guy never got a fair shake in the NFL. He's got the dimensions. I'm happy to see him doing well down there. But yeah, these two teams are just run-heavy offenses. So that's why I see it going under 38.5. But what I do love about this game and why I'm going to give St. Louis the nod here, not only did they blow out New York last week, 29-9, I love all of the anti-Stan Kroenke stuff they have going on in the stands. This city had its football team ripped away from them, absolutely shredded away from them, maybe even worse than San Diego. San Diego, we all kind of saw that coming a little bit over the years, but no, St. Louis just had it shredded away, moved to Los Angeles, and they were livid, and now they're showing it. I love all the protests. I love the different Stan Kroenke crap they have going on beforehand, and they are loud in that stadium. St. Louis is a football town, and I'm taking the Battlehawks to win on the money, on the spread, and going with the under, though. It's going to be an exciting game, but it's going to be a ground and pound.
All right. I thought you were going to go the over route there. So a little plot twist. Well done, sir. Because it is the game of the week on the XFL schedule, and I expect it will be a defensive battle. Both teams have committed to a defense-first mentality, and it's worked to varying degrees for both teams. St. Louis has allowed the second fewest points in the league through 3 weeks. Seattle, pretty solid defensively until that second half collapse last week. The Battlehawks are the better team by far, and I think they dictate this game by keeping the ball on the ground on their home field. Battlehawks running back Matt Jones leading the league with 224 yards rushing. I think he excels with a ground and pound game plan. Take the under on the game and take the over on Jones rushing yards.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, Skip Bayless is looking for his next job. Odds are released. What are we thinking?
Yeah, so
where's he going?
DAZN is the betting favorite right now at plus 150. ESPN at plus 175, and his current home Fox plus 200. His contract is up in September, and I love that you can kind of bet on where journalists are going nowadays. Yeah. It's why I love WSN. You can track down like the most obscure bets. Now, I'm definitely not a Skip Bayless fan. He is a walking hot take. Did you see this week after Kobe Bryant's memorial, he dedicated a massive chunk of his show to discussing why LeBron James wasn't a bigger part of it. Like, what a clown move. He's obsessed with LeBron James. He's obsessed with taking him down. He's essentially made a career of it, which is unfortunate. His ranting and raving, it draws eyeballs, though, and he is a wanted commodity. It's a very interesting, non-traditional sports medium in DAZN that they're the betting favorite. But when you kind of deep dive on it, it makes a lot of sense. Jamie Horowitz has a lot of power at that streaming service. He's very, very close to Bayless. In fact, he brought Skip to Fox on his current 4-year deal. Horowitz not being very shy and publicly courting the controversial host either. The two held a very public meeting at the Super Bowl in the weekend in Miami. If anyone could lure Bayless away from Fox, it would be him. So if I were to bet on it, DAZN is the way to go. And also, 4 years, $18 million. That was what Skip Bayless's contract is.
Unbelievable.
We're in the wrong line of work.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously. Skip Bayless does have a few takes that I don't mind. I think you alluded to that as well. Sometimes, I don't mind what he's going for. But yeah, this guy just, like, there's just arrogance written across his face. It's like watching Rob Lowe in anything he's ever done. And so with that said, I feel like he's going to go for the cash. And he's not going to go for the better platform. He's going for the cash. And right now, DAZN streaming service still fairly new in the United States and North America. They're a UK-based program, UK-based company, and I'm not as familiar with it because it hasn't made a gigantic splash just yet in the United States. And by gigantic, I mean when ESPN came on the scene, like something of that magnitude has not happened yet. So I think if he does switch gears, it's going to be to ESPN. I think it's going to be on a short-term deal. ESPN just loves getting viewers in. There's so many shows on there that I like. The guy with his dad or his uncle that I don't know what that show is even about.
The show is phenomenal.
Okay.
It's called Highly Questionable.
Yeah.
And Dan Le Batard's dad has not been on the show since October.
Okay, well, that's the last time I watched it. So, but anyhow, there's just a lot of random shows. They love throwing new stuff out there, trying to bring in different eyeballs and bringing in Skip Bayless. He does come with a crowd. You got to give him that much.
Let me jump in and help your cause a little bit, too. High Noon, which is another show with Bomani Jones, got canceled this week. So a lot of people thinking, well, why did they cancel it? It's let a gap in the programming. So
yeah,
maybe
I appreciate that. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a 4-year deal. I think it's going to be a short term. And then if DAZN has the money, if DAZN has the leverage, and they have more under their programming belt in years to come, I could absolutely see Skip making the skip. But yeah, I'm going to go ESPN for this one.
I know you didn't mean to do that, but I like what you did.
Yeah.
You would.
All right.
Head to WSN.com for expert online sportsbook reviews that let you compare all the best legal sports betting sites available in the United States. Let's get to the best bet recap for this week.
Yeah, let's wrap this thing up.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll take the lead.
Please do.
The best bet, the Adam Forsythe best bet of the week on the WSN Prop Drop. I ruined it, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, that was so close.
You tried.
Either way, it's going to be a winner, so who really cares? I'm hitting the gridiron for my best bet of the week, and it will take less than 5 seconds to determine if I am a winner. I think Henry Ruggs III will finish with the best run time in the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. The guy has jet speed. I think he cruises to a win, potentially breaks the record for the fastest 40-yard dash in Combine history. My best bet of the week.
Not the first, not the second. Henry Ruggs, the
Third.
Yeah, I'm going to the Mexican Open. I'm going ATP here. Rafa Nadal with Zverev getting bounced, with Auger Aliassime getting bounced. They're both on the other side of the bracket. If he can get through Stan Wawrinka, which he's done time and time again, just give the man the title. It's over. Outside of that, and John Isner as well, a fairly well-known name, but there's a bunch of no names in this tournament. Aside from that, I see Rafa just storming the gates. And the Spaniard taking away the win, no problem. Best bet, lock it in.
See, I would want to take Rafa, but because you took it as the best bet, I'm going to take a risk.
Here we go.
Tommy Fleetwood.
There it is.
Yes!
There it is.
Going with the hair. It's all about the hair. Reminder, real money, daily fantasy sports are a great option for people living in a state where traditional sports betting isn't legal. Head over to WSN.com and they can set you up with links to DraftKings and FanDuel. Don't forget to check out WSN.com as well as WSN's YouTube channel for tons of coverage on all sports. Make sure you like and subscribe to Prop Drop. For Adam Forsythe, Ryan Sullivan, I'm Alece Anderson. We'll see you next week.